Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to A Certain Point of View here on a fine Sunday evening. I'm your host, Jake Berlin, and I am joined by just two of the fellow crew members for this evening. I have Miss Molly Damon there on the bottom. How are you doing on a Sunday?
I'm good. I'm excited that I got my new Schmodown hoodie.
It looks super comfortable. Nice. I will admit it. It looks pretty comfortable.
It's very soft.
Brian, how are you hanging out over there in this heat? We are being just beaten down right now.
We're being annihilated by it's like 109. So
it's just not fair.
It's not to mention it was raining and thunderstorming like a couple miles away from here.
Yeah, I saw that. So I was out at 7 a.m. and there was thunder in Elk Grove, which is where I was going, which is just insane. Yes, and so there's just the three of us. Jill is on a little family thing tonight, and she may be able to join in the back end. But for now, as you can see right there in the bottom right-hand corner, we are joined by Mr. James White. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing really good. How are you guys?
Good. Very excited.
I don't have any fire tornadoes out by me, so I'm excited about that.
Jesus. It's literally, it's like you can't even make this stuff up anymore.
No.
Fire tornadoes.
Yeah. That's 2020 could be a thing. Fire tornadoes is it.
Yeah.
So true.
Filled with murder hornets.
How I'd react to one of those in person, to be honest. I don't know if I'd be marveled by it or absolutely horrified by one of those. I mean, it would be kind of cool to see one in person, don't you think? Like
I would just literally be like, really? Like, really? Like that would be my reaction.
That's fair. Jill stepping in here. Hi, beautiful people. Sorry I couldn't be there. It's okay. You got important business to take care of, so it's all
happy belated birthday, Jill's mom.
Yes, I will second that. Yes, we are here to do quite a bit. Obviously, as Tim Sims said here in the chat, what a night it was on Friday. Yes, we're going to be discussing it on Friday, or today, the match on Friday. Quite a pay-per-view event for multiple different reasons, not just for competing-wise, but also Wi-Fi troubles and things that went on inside the match that are definitely going to create some conversation. But before we get into that, we just want to hang out with James a little bit, get to know him from a certain point of view, if you will.
I see what you did there.
Brian, stop shaking your head. You knew I was going to do it. And so we always ask a question here to our guests, and it's a very simple question. It's just how did you get involved inside the Schmodown? What was the one thing that kind of just like kicked yourself into the Schmodown?
Well, I started watching really when Dan was playing Campia in season 3. That was the one that got me into watching the Schmodown consistently. I'd seen a couple of the matches from season 1, season 2, but I was a big fan of Dan from Screen Junkies and following them for a while. So when he started competing, I was watching religiously after that and following his career with great interest. But he, I mean, and it's a good thing I did because I mean the man's the GOAT. As we saw too, but to get into actually the heart of it all, you know, I've been friends with Janine the Machine for quite a while, and so I went to a few of the live events and got to meet Christian and Mark and got to meet some of these people and stuff like that through Janine. You know, she was very gracious, bringing me around and hanging out with everybody, and I was at Free for All last year or the year before, hanging up in the balcony at the El Portal and running questions with Dan and JTE and everybody. We were just all hanging up at the balcony, you know, doing questions with each other. And, I was hanging in right there with them. So, you know, kind of got a little bit of notice there. And when they were doing the draft, I was just hoping to get my name into the hat, you know, try to get onto a team here.
And boy,
that's how it happens.
Yeah, I mean, you have that thought process going into the draft, and then like 9 names later, your name is called.
I tell you, as shocked as everybody on that stage and in that room was, I don't think anybody was as shocked as I was. I came into that comedy room, you know, just hoping to get picked up on a team and win some matches and try to work up the rankings. When I walked out, you know, I was a name that people were talking about because Burnett just threw me out there in the second round, which it was a shock. I was absolutely surprised. I think that that whole 10 minutes from being drafted, running over, doing an interview with Jen Serger, and then coming back to my chair, I don't remember anything. It was just a blur.
If I'm not mistaken, were you sitting with Sean and Jill during that draft?
Yeah. It was me and Janine and Rachel and Brandon and Sean and Jill and a bunch of people just kind of in that little corner.
So the reason why I know that is because Brian and I were there with some buddies in the booth directly behind you guys. And when your name was called, no offense, but we had no idea who you were. And then everybody's like, oh my God, this rookie hopeful is coming in from the fan leagues. And so, I mean, that's a whirlwind. And then obviously we know the story by now. You had a match planned, everything was set, and then you ended up coming to LA, didn't work out, canceled. And 8 months later, you finally make your debut. How does it feel to officially be inside the Schmodown with the first match under your belt?
It's surreal, man. I will be the first one to admit that I didn't perform as well as I hoped for and as well as I could have in that first match. But I got a win, and I'm in the Schmodown record books now. You know, I have a win inside the Schmodown. So no matter what happens, that can't be taken away from me. So it's really cool to be able to consider myself as part of the league for real now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that win really takes it up a notch.
Absolutely.
Well, you said the same thing, Molly, when you had come on the show too.
Yeah, that win gave me a bit of a high that I'm still riding on, and I guess I'll be riding on it till next year.
A couple comments here I want to get to before we get to anything else. Let's see. Stardew here. Molly, isn't it warm in Atlanta? I know you said that before we jumped on.
It is quite warm. It's like 90s, very humid, but I've got the air cranked up, got the fan on, just so I can wear my sweater.
There you go. There you go.
A fine looking sweater it is.
Yeah. Gertie the Dino. I think what we all want to know is what is James' favorite pop that didn't make it in his background?
My favorite pop that hasn't made it in the background is actually the Doc Brown with the clock tower. It is a quarter of an inch too tall with the lightning rod to fit under the shelf. No. Otherwise, it would look perfect.
I'm so jealous.
I've got to disassemble my shelving a little bit and rearrange some things if I really wanted to fit.
And yes, Jill. Yes, I finally do have a background. Thank you for rubbing it in. Thank you for rubbing it in. It took a while, but I officially have something. So thank you.
Jill, we can still give him crap because he doesn't have a Baby Yoda yet.
That's fine. I got some really cool ones behind me. So, and they're always going to rotate. So
hey, I got a Baby Yoda.
Yeah,
that's the same one, Brian.
Yeah. Right here.
Nobody trumps, which I can't see, by the way. Where's the big boy?
Oh, I moved him because I wanted to put my twin sons up. But I've got the Build-A-Bear, and I've got the little one with the bowl. The big one's over here, and I have walls of them.
Yes, you do.
Which we've seen. Okay, so we do have a comment here from Mr. Brian Nussbaum here, and obviously you are playing. You ended up winning your playing match. And you are playing Mr. William Bibiani next in the first round, in the official first round of the tournament. And Brian just simply says, how is James feeling about his match against Bibbs? I have James as the upset in that match. So
well, thanks, Brian. I'm feeling pretty good. I know that coming into this match, I'm kind of playing with house money here because I'm not going to be expected to beat William the Beast Bibiani. He's a legend of the game. He is a former singles champion. He's just dominant right now, as you've seen over the last season. I mean, he was just lights out all of last season. So coming into this match, I have zero expectations, really. My expectations of myself are just performing to my standard because I didn't do that in the first match. I did not do that against Frank, and I made it really hard on myself. I had to answer all 3 questions in round 3. And if you go into every match where you have to answer all 3 questions in round 3, you're not going to be winning very much. So I've just got to play to my ability and try to keep it close. If I can come out of round 1 with a really good score, if I can get 6, 7, 8 points, hopefully I'll get that 8, maybe get 9. If I can come out of there with a really good round 1 score, keep it close in round 2, then round 3 it can be a crapshoot because you never know what those questions are. He might get some bad pulls with his numbers. I might get some really good ones, and I could get an upset. I believe that I have the ability to beat Bibiani. If I go in scared, then there's no point of even playing. So I'm confident in myself. I just need to show up a lot better than I did in that first one.
I like that mentality.
Yeah, believing that you can beat someone is a big part of it. Like, I went into my match with Demolanta, and I was like, this is going to be hard. Obviously, this is going to be close, but I truly believed that I could beat him, and I still do. So
yeah.
Brian, do you have any questions before we get to a certain bet that was made?
No, I'm just ready to freaking get it over with. I already saw
Yeah, buddy.
Orioles.
Well, Brian, why don't you take it over? Go ahead and tell a little backstory here about the bet that was made with Mr. James White.
Yeah, so James and I made a bet. I should have said no to you when I said changing it, but original bet was that whoever won the first game between the Red Sox and the Orioles would have to wear the color of their team. James changed it to the series, and boy, did that bite me in the ass.
Now, I did not change it to the series. I just said I will not accept the one. How about we make it the series? Because
that's fair.
Anybody can win a game. Best 2 out of 3.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? Because we skunked you in that first game, and then it was all.
What happened after that?
It's been all down here. The Red Sox, I don't even know. But the loser had to wear the color, so I am wearing orange. And yes, the Baltimore Orioles are better than the Boston Red Sox.
Ooh.
That was also the losing bet. So,
Jake, if you could clip that out for me, just
I 100% will. I'll make sure I put that on Twitter.
He 100% will.
Yeah,
so
it'll be amazing.
No, you're a good sport, Brian. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Oh yes, man. Hey, I'm gonna make the bet. I'm gonna follow through if I lose. So,
Kyle,
and boy, did I lose
with some hot takes. Hot takes by Kyle here.
Kyle's about to be dropped. So, no, I'm kidding. No, I'm not.
Well, do we have any more questions for Mr. James White before we move into the big pay-per-view that happened on Friday? Anybody else have anything for him?
No, I got my trouble out of the way. So,
well, Brian, I know that you wanted to you brought up this cool idea to ask James about his favorite movies. You want to have a little information about that?
So we do with the contestants when they come on, depending what we've never done it with singles. So you're going to be our guinea pig for this one.
Oh,
but like when the Star Wars people, we ask them specific characters they like and blah, blah, blah. So instead, we are going to ask your favorite movies of genres.
Okay.
And without giving away your secrets, obviously. So if you need to lie, that's okay. But our first one is your favorite comedy movie.
Favorite comedy. I'm going to go something. It's probably my favorite comedy, but if not, it's very, very close, and it's something that a lot of people aren't going to throw out there. My Cousin Vinny. My Cousin Vinny is one of the best comedies that exists. Joe Pesci is just from beginning to end. It's one of the funniest movies. It's one of the most quotable movies that I say all the time. And Marissa Tomei won an Oscar for it. I mean, come on. You know how hard it is to win an Oscar for a comedy?
I haven't seen that movie in so long. It has been so long since I'm not surprised by that, Brian.
Have you seen My Cousin Vinny? I would say put it on your list. It's one of my favorite movies. I love that movie.
It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a very, very long time. It's almost like when I go back and watch it, it's gonna be like a fresh first time viewing for me because it's been so long.
So good.
That's cool because that's definitely not that's definitely not a normal choice compared to a lot of people's comedies, especially in this day and age with so many of them coming out. The next one, very simple, best drama or favorite drama, excuse me.
Favorite drama, I'm going to say David Fincher's Seven. Even though you could throw that into a thriller also.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, that was a seminal film for me. I can't tell you how many times that I've seen that movie. But yeah, I love everything about that.
It's seminal film? You mean a gator film?
Seminole, not seminole.
I know, I'm kidding.
How dare you twist my words that way? I'm leaving. This is
Molly, do you have the list in front of you?
I do.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, are we all answering these or?
No, you can.
Oh no, you're just asking.
Oh, okay. So I asked the next one. Gotcha. Favorite horror movie.
Favorite horror movie. Some people might not consider it a horror movie, but I do. Jaws. Jaws is just a goat.
A horror movie.
I do too. Some people will consider it more action adventure-y, but it's definitely a horror movie.
In the 70s, that's a horror movie. You got to remember when
that's
100% a horror movie.
It's hard to be considered a true horror movie when you're a PD, but it's so good. I mean, there's a reason why it's quoted and why it's copied so much.
100%. I literally just saw the most gruesome Funko Pop from Jaws. It's of Jaws eating the guy in half.
Eating Quint.
Yeah, and the blood.
It's the one that I want so bad, but it was a Comic-Con exclusive last year, and I don't have it. I have just the regular shark and the regular Quint, but can't find it. So yeah, if anybody wants to find that for me, yeah, I'd be more than grateful.
Favorite suspense movie?
Ooh.
That's a hard category.
Yeah, that's a hard. Should we go suspense like thriller?
You know what? I can do this one in it too. I would say Psycho.
Ooh.
Psycho is
that's good.
suspenseful. Yeah, it's also horror, but it's very suspenseful film. Yeah, I'd say Psycho.
Favorite romantic movie?
Rom-com or just straight romance?
Let's just do rom-com because it's a little bit more easier that way.
Favorite. Well, I just did a rom-com list with PJ Campbell and Maxwell Haddad and everybody over there, and my number one was The Philadelphia Story, which is more of a comedy and a screwball comedy than it is romance, but I love that movie. If I'm going straight rom-com, I would say When Harry Met Sally.
Nice.
Classic. Favorite animated movie?
Disney's Aladdin.
Nice.
Ooh.
Easiest one.
Easy.
I was gonna say that was easy. Favorite action movie?
This is splitting hairs on the genre too, but I'm going Back to the Future.
Love
Back
it.
to the Future is one of my favorite movies ever, and yeah.
Love it. I'll throw one in there that's not in there because it's taken over the world in the last decade. Favorite comic book movie?
Favorite comic book movie? Ooh. This one's tough. Recently, I think when I did my MCU list, I think I still have Black Panther as my favorite comic book movie. But that's so hard. Like, I can go back to '89 Batman. It's really what I'm in the mood for. Ugh.
I love
I'm saying
Michael
89
Keaton
Batman. I'm saying '89 Batman.
All right.
89 Batman. That one really started it all for how things are done today, even more so than what Superman did back in the day.
I agree. I 100%.
I love.
Is that your favorite comic movie?
Not my favorite comic book movie, but I think it's my favorite Batman movie. Like, I love the Christopher Nolan trilogy, but the '89 Batman is perfection.
I would agree.
And I saw somebody. I saw Brian said "Forgetting Sarah Marshall," and that was close to what I was going to say for rom-coms and comedies. I love that movie so much.
We went on our honeymoon at that resort that's in that movie.
Oh, the Turtle Bay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Star Drew here stepping in. Outside of Remember the Titans, what's your favorite sports movie?
Oh yeah, that's not on.
See, this one's really, really hard because I have probably like 5 of them that flip back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. That's another one where I could go on a list of what's my favorite straight comedy sports movie? What's my favorite straight drama sports movie? But if I had to pick just out of all of them, it's A League of Their Own. A League of Their Own, you get a little bit of everything. It's hilarious. You get a lot of really good dramatic moments in there. But it's just such a well-rounded movie. Penny Marshall just crushed it. I'm looking forward to see what they do with this series.
That's what I was just going to ask. Are you looking forward to the Amazon series?
Yeah, if they were going to do a reboot, I think the series is the way to go. I would not be excited if they were going to make another film, but to do a reboot with a series, you're able to really dive in with these new characters, and I really like the creative behind it. Abby Jacobson, I think, and it's gonna have Darcy Carden in it. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what they can do with that.
And Amazon is known for that. They've turned a lot of movies into television with Hannah and Jack Ryan already, so they have a good track record of doing it. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, anything baseball wise, I'm looking forward to. But
yeah, same. I'm of the opinion that I think if you're going to take a movie or something and try to bring it into a modern take, do it as a TV show because it works so well. And you have so much more time to flesh out the characters, and you can go into different themes and things like that. I love what they did with Mandalorian and all these Star Wars things that they're yeah.
That's what my next question was going to be.
It's so smart to do it as a series, like with Obi-Wan and all these things. It's like just give us 7, 8, 9, 10 hours of something instead of a 2-hour movie, and you got to cut it all together.
Yeah.
Give me a series.
Yep.
I was going to say favorite movie from Molly's type and Molly's League, but
favorite Star Wars movie, Empire.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, I'd say Empire. I mean, it's an obvious choice. Everybody says it, but
not true. I like A New Hope better.
I like A New Hope too. I really like it. Empire is just so dark and so twisted. It's really, really good. I like that one.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I
Okay,
like Return of the Jedi more than most do too.
I do too. Yeah.
And I've been liking it more so in the last few years because I've been watching them more recently. And I don't know why I didn't like it before. Not that I didn't like it before, but I don't know why I didn't like it as much as I did before than I did now. I think the movie's really good. Not on the level of Mark Ellis, but it's like really, really good.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
wish we could go back to the old edit. I don't want to see the dancing cantina singer, and I want Yub Nub back at the end.
You don't want size snoodles?
Yeah, no thanks. and I don't want
That's
Hayden
fair.
at the end as the Force Ghost. I don't like that either, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think it was cool for me with Hayden just because I grew up with him as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so seeing him planted in that movie when the first edition like came out, the new editions, I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. But now I totally understand what people say about not having him in there. So
Yeah.
I can understand kind of the thought process behind it is like, okay, well, when he was good, he wasn't the age that he was originally. He was Hayden when he was so good. So I can understand it, and it doesn't bother me as much. But give me Yub Nub back. I love Yub Nub.
Yes.
Okay, so before we get onto this pay-per-view match discussion here, because it is
we're not going to ask the most obvious of all of those questions.
Which is what?
Your favorite movie
Just
of all time.
Favorite overall movie?
Yeah, fine, fair enough.
Well, this always flips around. I don't have like a definitive number one, but since I didn't mention I mentioned two of the other ones that kind of fall into that top spot, the one that I didn't mention is Jurassic Park. So because I didn't get to mention Jurassic Park, I'll throw that in as my number one right now.
I don't know why I thought you were going to say Indiana Jones.
Forever rewatchable Jurassic Park. I love Indiana Jones. They're 3 fantastic movies. Yeah, it's a great series.
Yeah,
Jurassic
Park.
really good movies.
Just the 3, yeah.
There's only been 3.
What's funny? You know what's funny about this is yesterday I was sitting on my couch and I was watching, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I put it up on social media. What everybody doesn't know is that I watched Kingdom of the Crystal Skull right before it because it was playing on the Paramount Network here in where I'm from.
Man,
Raiders
must have looked like so good after watching.
Oh man, I'm telling you, it did. Like it did, but I haven't seen the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in a long time, and I don't like the alien stuff. Obviously, like that just ruins the movie, and a lot of it, the modernization of really did ruin it too. But I kind of had a little bit of fun with it, because I know what to expect going into it now, and like I said, I haven't seen it in a long time, and so it wasn't like as terrible as I remember.
Yeah, I haven't rewatched it in a few years. I need to revisit it just so I can still hold this contempt in my heart. See if it's at least justified, and I'm not just holding on to something just to hold on to it. But
At least Karen Allen is in it.
yes, and we can all agree that we need more Karen Allen in our lives. She's just disappeared. We need more Karen Allen.
Here you go. How many Jurassic Park movies does James acknowledge?
I acknowledge it.
I know.
At least 3. I acknowledge at least 3. I'm not a big fan of Jurassic Park 3. I really like Lost World. I have a lot of nostalgia for that. It's not a great movie, and there's some really, really bad stuff in that movie, but it's just stupid and fun. And it came out when I was, a really young kid, so I enjoyed watching it. But I'm not a fan of Fallen Kingdom whatsoever. That has a really, really good 15 minutes, and I wish like the whole movie was that horror haunted house with the Indoraptor in it. But yeah, the rest of that movie was not fun for me.
Fair enough.
All right, so we do have one Streamlabs that has come through, and we'll get to that right now before our pay-per-view discussion here. And this comes from the Schmominati. with the donation
Of course.
Oh.
Thank you, Shmominati.
James, will you be? We will be in contact with you regarding your next match. James, give into your anger, give into your hate, give into us. Do what Molly would not become a winner. Join us.
Oh,
I'll have to see what the
Molly?
offer on the table is.
maybe your
So-
offer wasn't good enough because Molly maybe would have thought about it.
So yes, thank you for that donation, whoever that is behind that name. Thank you so much for that donation. But yes, let's get into the hefty discussion here on this massive pay-per-view event here from Friday.
One more movie I want to throw out real fast before we jump in is probably one of my favorite coming-of-age films, and it's a more recent one that a lot of people haven't seen, but I just rewatched it again. It's one of my favorite ones. The Way Back. Such a good movie. If you
Cool.
haven't seen it,
I've never seen The Way Back.
it's so good. It's got Steve Carell, Toni Collette, and Anna Sophia Robb, and Sam Rockwell, Maya Rudolph. So it's about a kid just going on vacation with his mom and her boyfriend, and he's just an outsider loner. And he tries to find his way in the world at a water park for the summer. And it's got a lot of heart. It's got a lot of laughs. It's a really, really good one. It suggests everybody watch that one.
I think
I
my
will have to
favorite,
write that one down.
my favorite recent, I guess it's a coming of age movie, is Good Boys. I've seen that like 3 times since it came out.
So
It
good.
is so funny.
That movie is so good.
I'm all about Lady Bird.
Mm.
Jake knows that.
Lady
So-
Bird's a good one.
Well, and it's also a factor for us because we live in the city that it's about.
True.
And there's a mural of Lady Bird on 16th Street in downtown
There is?
Sacramento. Yeah, it's been there since the movie opened, like a week or two after the movie opened. And we also got to experience the movie at the oldest theater in, I think, maybe even California, at the Tower Theater. So there's like a whole like thing about it. And Brian just kind of like, and not saying it's a bad thing at all, but he just like clung on to it because throughout the movie, there's shots and we're like, oh my God, we were there. Oh my God, we were there. Oh my God, that's the college we went to. Like,
well,
it was
there's
such,
a
like,
shot
big
of the
deal.
top. It's crazy to see a shot of the movie theater you're watching the movie theater in.
Yeah.
So it's like, so yeah.
That's fair. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about this pay-per-view discussion because we have a lot to discuss here with this match. And we will begin with the opening match, the teams match between Final Exam and Shazam. We finally get to see Shazam back together. They were separated as a singles match up against Dan Murrell at the beginning of the year in New York in January. So we have not seen them since then. We have not seen them as a team since last December. And we finally get to see them back in virtual form. Final Exam has been playing the last 2 weeks together. They also had, I think, 1 match in studio earlier this year. So they've been playing quite a bit. And this was a massive matchup. Obviously, you have Lon Harris and Paulo Yama playing William Bibiani and Brendan Meyer, 4 incredibly big names inside the Schmoedown, both teams and singles. And what a shakeup it was because I'll be quite honest, like as great as the match was, I still can't get over the fact about this Wi-Fi thing that happened.
Oh my gosh.
Like, this was really like crazy. And this was the first time in the virtual form of the Schmoedown, obviously, that we had seen it. And we hadn't really seen an issue with it in the singles or any of the Star Wars Twitch matches or any of the pre-recorded IG matches. And it really put, I mean, the very beginning of the match started with Lon losing Lon at the beginning of the match. And then we kicked everybody out after the first round. And then Brendan Meyer had his issues in the 3rd round. And so it was a little bit of a just confusion. We could see the host getting a little frustrated by it. But all in all, let's give our thoughts about this match here. Molly, I'll start with you on this one. What did you think about Shazam and Final Exam?
I was really looking forward to this match because I thought after seeing Final Exam play, I thought that they were really evenly matched. I still think that. But yeah, seeing Paulo Yama struggle in the first round was tough for me. That was
He did struggle. It was the first time we saw kind of a chink in his armor in this team's format.
Yeah, it was interesting. But yeah, I was really excited to see Shazam play again, despite all the Wi-Fi issues.
Brian, what were your overall thoughts on this one before we get into kind of breakdown of it?
I mean, I said it when we were watching it. I'm surprised it took this long for something like that to happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not going to complain because this was my fear that every match would be like this. So if this is the first one, granted, it was kind of important one, but I mean, like, if this is the like one time out of the how many we've done before, I'm not going to complain. It kind of made it a little bit funny in the end, probably not to Christian, but and anyone else trying to get it to work. But it was a good match. It was fun. It was very, very much a back and forth that we thought it could be. So yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was one of the most well balanced and kind of fun, honestly, seeing the chaos. But,
I like Paige's comment about Christian muting Brendan at the end because he was breathing. He was like on edge.
And I was going to bring this up, but Leo, I mean, he acted high as a kite. I mean, he was all over the place, more so than he normally is. James, what was your take on it as someone who could end up facing? I mean, obviously you're playing Bibs, who could end up facing someone like Brendan online. What were your take on it?
Yeah, it was a really exciting match going in. I was really hopeful that it would be a close match, and it was. It was definitely hard to watch with the technical issues, and there's not much you can really do about that. I know that Christian was probably ready to rip his hair out through the whole thing because he wants to put out the best possible product for the fans as he can, and he knows people are paying $10 a pop or are $10 patrons, getting these pay-per-views, and to have those kind of technical snafus is something that's going to drive a creative head crazy. But the competitors all came out and they battled through all the technical issues they could, and they put together a really good match. It was tough to see Paul struggle in round one. You could tell that was eating him up because he holds himself to such a high standard. But they were not easy questions in round one. That was a pretty difficult set of questions, and every team had their hiccups there in round one. So it was a close-ish match going into round two, and then you never know what that wheel's going to bring. But it was a very, very competitive match, is exactly what I expected with those four.
Yeah, and to add to that, just quickly, Brendan missed the first two questions of the match. I mean, that's kind of like a testament to like what it was kind of going for, and then it was a battle back and forth. But before we move on to our conversation, we do have someone who has joined us, and that is the fourth member of our team. Jill. How's it going?
I'm on my phone, so I don't know if there's going to be some kind of echo. But sorry, I couldn't. All right, cool. I just wanted to say, sorry I couldn't be here the whole time. But hi, James. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Hang in. Just had a last minute family thing, so I couldn't be on for the entire time. But just wanted to pop in, say hi, chat for a bit, maybe put my 2 cents in about this crazy pay-per-view that we had.
Yeah, I mean, thoughts on everything that went down, specifically with Final Exam and Shazam.
Oh man, that match was. I honest to God was more excited for the teams match just because I've been so interested with the whole virtual team dynamic that we've seen. Besides the internet issues, I mean, that was a good match, man. It's unfortunate that. Well, I really didn't have I wasn't really upset with whoever won or lost this one, but Paul's a friend of mine, so I'm always rooting for Paul. But I mean, you can't not root for Shazam either. They're pretty on point.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. So after round one, Shazam was up 15-12. Bibiani went perfect, got the bonus question. Not surprised with him, even through the internet issues that were going on. And then round two happened, and Final Exam ended up going first. Shazam let them go first, or made them go first, I should say. And they landed on John Hughes, which I know Molly was excited for. And then they spun away from it.
Sad when they spun away.
And they landed on Sly and Arnie, which is a very interesting category. Ended up going pretty well, 5 for 6, 9 points. Shazam did get a 1-point steal in that round. And then you go to Shazam on this one. They landed on Clint Eastwood, a very interesting category. Not really sure how they're going to do with it. They ended up going 4 for 6 for 8 points. And the same thing, Final Exam ended up getting a 1-point steal as well. Shazam was up 2 points after that round. So still a close game. Again, Paul's struggles kind of continued in the round with Lon kind of stepping in a lot and helping them out. Brian, after this round number 2, what were your thoughts going into the final round?
I still kind of expected anyone to win at this point. Hi, PJ. Yeah, I had, even at this point, I still was unsure who was going to come out on top. And I mean, I prefer it like that. So that, because if I'm already leaning towards one, then it's like, okay, but it was still pretty even. Molly, are they, as you would say, cowards for spinning away from John Hughes? Or is that strictly reserved for Star Wars?
That is strictly reserved for people who spin away from Star Wars.
But yeah, no, I still was unsure who was going to win going into third round, because it literally was back and forth. So,
yeah, and this to Shazam's point here. This is one of the questions this was the steal that Final Exam got, debating between the Korean and Vietnam War for the Clint Eastwood film, which I know was a big part. I mean, because we were all watching together and we were going back and forth like, oh my God, they just made the wrong decision. And so, but yeah, I mean, James, after the second round, you see them get these categories and how they played. What are you thinking heading into that third round?
I'm still thinking it's anybody's game. Round 3 is make or break. You can, like you saw in my match, you can come in with a deficit in round 3 and just run through and still be able to get a win. So it's not over until that last question's asked. I was not thinking it was going to be anything other than a nail biter all the way down to the wire. And you saw that Shazam picked well when they decided to do Brendan answering that first question. Or letting Bibbs answer that first question, where Brandon was a little indecisive. He wanted to answer the dance movies question. Bibbs knows his dance movies, and he just stuck with his gun, said, no, I'm going to get it. And if they would have done it the other way around, they wouldn't have won the match, as Bibbs said afterwards, because he didn't know Brendan's 3.
Yeah.
So, it was a good decision on their part, and you never know how the questions are going to go that way when you're in a team situation and you're deciding who takes what question. You just got to go with your gut and say, all right, well, I know this category better than you do. I know the point value might not be as high, but you're better off getting the 2 points that you know you're going to get, or at least have the better chance of getting those 2 points versus risking not getting 5 points by switching the people.
It's fair.
Jill, since you're mobile, how are you feeling going into round 3?
Like everyone else, like it really could have gone either way. Going into round 3. So I was kind of, it was interesting. I think what was most interesting for me was hearing Bibbs after the fact say, had they switched who answered the first 2 questions, they would have lost the match. I was kind of sort of surprised he actually said that, but
and it could have been a 4.
Yeah, but I'm also kind of glad he did say that, because it really shows how important it is who answers those questions. But yeah, going into round 3, really anybody could have taken this home. As soon as Bibbs had said, had I had to take the 3-point question, we wouldn't have gotten right, I was like, oh dang. So surprising to me.
Molly, outside of the John Hughes thing, how are you feeling going into the third round?
Yeah, the same. I was like, this could go either way. I really liked all the questions in the round 3. What was Brendan Meyer's thriller question that he answered? Does anyone remember? Because I remember being like really impressed by it.
I forgot the question already.
PJ, you're in the chat.
PJ's in the chat.
I just watched it about an hour ago too. Oh goodness.
Either way, I was really impressed by that poll. I don't remember what it was, but something about it impressed me.
No, I mean, look, I agree. The third round, the Jessica Alba question was definitely a 2-point question. It made sense, but like we had mentioned, Bibbs had said, "I'm glad I got that one." Oh, it was the drive question, the Ron Perlman in the drive. That's what it was. And I had originally said Bryan Cranston, but I misheard the question because they mentioned Bryan Cranston in the question. So it kind of threw me off. But yeah, that was a really good poll, because that's a movie that probably a lot of people don't end up seeing because it was such a small film. Yeah,
that was it.
Brian,
all that caffeine is paying off.
Oh, yeah, Brendan Meyer in the third round was like going
He was just all over the place, wasn't he?
he's absolutely just. He seemed like he was on something. I'm not saying he was, but he just seemed like he was going at 1,000,000 miles a minute, more so than he ever was before. And that's probably, I think like when they play together with Bibiani, I'm sure that Bibiani calms him down a little bit. Not having Bibbs there probably just like frazzles him more so than it ever does. And I know that's a thing for teams too. So Brian, what are your thoughts on the round 3 and final exam missing the 5 point to lose and everything that happened?
Yeah, I mean, to say Brendan Meyer wasn't probably excited, honestly, that he was finally getting to do this after so long. I think the thing that stuck with me the most out of everything is what Paul said after the match, which was Shazam's the team that you win or is going to win 9 out of 10. This was the one game that they could beat them. And unfortunately, they didn't beat them because that's one of the most true things I've ever heard, especially about a team. Is this Shazam is one of those teams that it's like 90% of the time they're gonna beat you. It feels and seems like, but there is still that one game, that one match, that one chance that's gonna come there, and you're gonna be able to beat them. And it did look like this was, unfortunately, that match. It just, there was a couple trips, and I'm not going to say that it all fell on Paul, because it was even with both players on both teams. So it was just when Paul said that, I was like, wow, that actually is pretty spot on, like exactly what it is, especially with a team like Shazam. And you could say this about many of the teams right now. Founding Fathers, Corruption, all of those. 9 out of 10 times, they're going to be on their game and they're going to beat you. But there is always that chance, and you could kind of almost sense it when you're playing. And you could sense like Shazam was vulnerable during this match. So it's just a matter of executing that win and getting the W. But, it happens. But, it definitely made it interesting, because I know I was thinking, oh, my God, final exam's gonna do this many of times throughout that match. So, it was a great match.
Does anybody else think that this match just lit the biggest fire under Paulo Yama and everybody should be scared of him in a single tournament?
100%. 100%.
I'll tell you, after this match, I'm happier that I'm playing Bibbs in the first round than I would be playing Paul. Bibbs is riding high off of a win, so he's happy right now. But Paulo Yama is going to be out for blood, so I do not envy having to play Paul in the first round, or even the second round, or the third round. I think he can make a really strong run in this tournament now. Yeah,
there's no one more hungry than someone who's coming off from playing a loss. Mm-hmm. So he'll be someone to watch out for.
Now he's playing Marisol McKee too. So
that's where I was just about to say that's going to be, because he's going to come just for blood. Like, he's going to come out swinging, but she is no slouch. Like, she is calm, cool, collective, and that one's going to be one to watch for sure. But I would not want to be anywhere near the pathway of Oyama at this point.
The thing with Paul that I think people tend to forget too is that, he hasn't really had like an A+ season this season, but he is former singles champion Paulo Yama. Yeah. He beat Dan Murrell for that belt. He's someone that, while his season hasn't been like an A+ season, watch out, because when you least expect him, he's gonna come back biting. So excited to see him in singles.
We do have a couple Streamlabs that have come through. I'll get to these really quick here. KP, thank you for the donation. Can we please talk about the greatest match of all time and the match of all the years, Bonnie Smoke Show versus Queen Shannon Barney? not Somerville versus McKee, but Bonnie versus Shannon. and that intro, obviously, with their little smack talk there. Just quickly, because we need to discuss it on a reaction. All around thoughts on that one.
I'm still going to say Bonnie has the best entrance. Just saying it.
I wasn't surprised by their, back and forth. Yeah, I enjoyed watching it.
James?
Yeah, I thought it was an entertaining match outside of the actual trivia. I thought that Shannon and Bonnie going back and forth was great. Heel work, great performance work. But to the surprise of nobody, Marisol went through and won that match pretty handily. Bonnie kept it in there, as we haven't seen her. She scored a lot more points than anybody probably would have expected. Yeah, it was a little hard to watch for me, trivia wise, because Marisol was just running through. She was doing really, really great that round or that match. I would have liked to see her up against a little stronger of a competitor outside of Bonnie. But we're gonna get that in this next round. I mean, her versus Paul is gonna be a fantastic match. I'm really looking forward to seeing that one. Marisol really came on strong, just in her personality too. I'm excited to see what she can do.
Bonnie's 5-point pull was pretty impressive, especially with whoever was at the door ringing the bell and all the distractions.
I know that there's that argument that she said something first and then changed it. And I know, James, I saw you shaking your head there. But I mean, with this virtual thing, the final answer thing has kind of come into effect with them saying stuff. Does that play a factor here or no?
I mean, it's tough there because she did give two different answers. She gave an incorrect answer and then gave a correct answer and then gave an incorrect answer and then a correct answer. And, it's tough. It's on the judges at that point, I guess. But, if you're going to do one like that and you're going to give out multiple, you need to say, all right, this is the definitive answer. It almost felt like she combined the two, but it didn't really affect the game anyway because Marisol still had questions to answer, which she did and won that way anyway. So it didn't change the outcome of the game. So it's a moot point, really.
Yeah. Okay, so
I will say, if Shannon was really, really concerned that
they had their challenge, they could have done
that Marisol wasn't going to get one more out of those three, she could have probably challenged right there. And I bet you Shannon probably was just like, she's going to kill the second 2-point question and just fine. So, yeah.
So we do have a Streamlabs that came through about our Paulo Yama discussion. This came from D-Train. Thank you very much for the Streamlabs. I now think the Oyama-McKee match has the best potential for an upset. McKee's performance was great. She played like a veteran, and she could have scored more. Oyama has shown in the past he has struggled, and the fact that he's lost some big matches. It's a fair point. It's very much a fair point. I mean, he did lose a singles match to Roka earlier this year. Didn't look like the normal Paulo Yama.
TKO.
But I will say that I think the team's format has kind of reinvigorated him as a player, and he very much looks. And we can say that the last match on Friday was a little bit of a different Paulo Yama, but he just looks like he's ready to go again on a singles run like he did last year. Those are my thoughts, anyway.
I mean, I'll agree. I'll probably lean towards Paul right now, but I'm not counting out Marisol at all. For just of the way she showed, I think the thing that's scary to me is she was just so calm and was literally just answer, and it's just is she nervous or rattled at all? It was literally just answer. So I'm okay.
Yeah, in my opinion, she's the scarier of the two right now because we don't know that much about her. We don't know her strengths or weaknesses or anything. But and that too, she was just spitting out the right answers.
Yeah, I don't think she's the scarier of the two. I think she's definitely the most mysterious of the two because you don't know anything about her. But the scariest thing is a beaten dog. Somebody that that is just got that fire behind their eyes. And when you lose a match, especially the way that they lost the match to Shazam, I think that Paul is going to be a scary player right now because he has so much riding on this tournament, and he knows that he has so much riding on this tournament now. So he's going to come into it, just all guns a-blazing with, fury behind it. I think that if it's going to be, it's going to be a really good match. I think it's not going to be something where he's going to run over her because she's a very good competitor, as you saw in that first match. But I just think that he's got so much more determination right now that we'll see a better Paulo Yama in the singles tournament than we saw on Friday.
Jill, do you have thoughts on that one?
No, I 100% agree that with 100% what James said, a beaten dog is something that's scary. But on the flip side, I couldn't tell you the last time I was more excited for a rookie. Like, as soon as I saw Marisol's first promo, I was obsessed. Like, she's great. Her character's great. She's good at trivia, clearly. So this is going to be a fun match. I'm really excited for this one, but Paul's not going to be one to mess with. That's for damn sure.
All right, so before we get on to our Dan Murrell, Ethan Irwin discussion here, we do have another Streamlabs from D-Train. Thank you very much for the donation. They should let Bonnie enter the team's division next year. Considering her record, I don't think she can continue in singles, so she should try something new with a teammate that can help her. I think it's a win-win for everyone. Fair point. Very, very fair point, and it could be very interesting to see what happens. Her and Josh McCouga would be a hell of a team, I'll say that much.
That's funny. That's the first person that popped in my head, too.
Yeah. For me, like, I think people need to realize, like, there are going to be players that, the end goal is always to win the belt, but there are going to be players that are there to just play and have fun and just try to win. And that's pretty much Bonnie's MO. She's there. You could tell that she really wanted to win after that match. She really was trying to win. Is she the best player? No. But she was having fun, and if you everyone wants those fun matches that are just just whatever matches. So her with a partner versus another team that is probably silly like that. Do another like Bonnie and someone versus Brett and someone again. Like, who doesn't want to see a fun match like that? I sure as heck do. So, I think we need to just distinguish the people that are really there to grind out and get a belt versus the ones that are there to have fun and entertain us and just do the best they can. And that's Bonnie to me. And I sure as hell would totally watch a fun back and forth, like, joke match of Bonnie and a partner versus McCouga and someone else. Like, that's so funny.
Jill, I know you got to head out, but before you do, just quick thoughts on Murrell and Irwin, if you want to give a sentence or two.
Prime example of what a championship match should be. 100%. That you couldn't have asked for a better championship match. And also the ending with, like, the cute reason as to why he knew the answer. Oh, so good. So good. But literally prime example of what a championship match should be. It was great. It was entertaining. Honestly, couldn't really have asked for more than what we got.
Sweet. Well, Jill, thank you for joining us in the short time you had. It was good to have you on the show, obviously. And we'll see you tomorrow on our reaction crazy schedule this week. So
yeah, I'll see you guys basically every day this rest of the week. But bye, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Bye. Okay, so let's get into this match. But I do have one comment that I got to pull up here because it was just about the Schmoedown having fun. The Schmoedown is about having fun and yelling at pigeons. I may be getting that mixed up with something. He had to throw that in there. And then PJ obviously stepping in. Well said, Brian. Well said. Okay, so Dan Murrell, Ethan Irwin, a title match in the making for a long time here. Obviously, number 3 between the two of them. Irwin won the first. Murrell got the second. And now we have the so-called rubber match, as it's called in sports. And like Jill said, it lived up to the hype. You know, it was a prototypical title match that had its you know, moments of like, whoa, that happened, and had its moments of like, yes, that happened. One of them can be the fact that, shockingly, you know, Dan Murrell misses the first question of the match. Not something that you expect to see. And, you know, but luckily it didn't throw him off the game. It was back and forth the entire time. It was a lot of fun to watch. Molly, overall thoughts on this one, especially since, you know, your faction mates in this one.
Yeah, and you know, I've heard tale that I am all about my faction and nothing else. But I actually picked Dan to win this one just because I've seen him play so many times. I'm a huge fan. I knew how this game was going to go, and I was honestly rooting for both of them, but I had a feeling Dan was going to win. And yeah, him missing the first question was surprising. That rattled me a little bit. I was like, oh no, like, is he having a off night? Mm-hmm. But yeah, this was the perfect match between these two. Going into overtime, the kind of questions they got, it was all just...
Yeah, the questions were really, really good. Like even, and we'll probably get to it, but like the killer clowns from outer space question, like that's like a great question. James, what were your thoughts on this one?
Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I love that movie. Yeah, it's great. What were we talking about? Were we talking about the match? I see you guys sucking up to the question writers since PJ's in the chat.
Oh,
no, fantastic questions. They really were.
You should be doing that right now.
Yeah,
if you know.
No kidding. Yeah. No. PJ and his team do a really good job with the questions. They get way too much vitriol thrown at them by fans and competitors alike, and I think that they do a fantastic job. But no, it's what we wanted in a championship match. They both just came to play, and I mean, to get a championship match in a pay-per-view that comes down to the sudden death against two of the best in the game, and you get the final point based on it being you and your girlfriend's song together. I mean, you can't write that into a story any better. It's such a good storyline. It was just something straight out of a rom-com. It's really, really good match. And kudos to Dan for missing the first question against Ethan Irwin and not letting that rattle him, letting him know that he still had 5 rounds of questions to keep up. He could right back in there. 1 point's not going to hurt him. And he got right back on it in the next question and came out of round 1 better than what he could have if he would have let that really get to his head. But no, it was such a good match. And those two guys, I mean, they're champions, former champions for a reason, and it showed in that match. They just played the lights out for the majority of it. That finish was just really, really great. I love a good showdown right at the end, and nothing beats sudden death.
Yeah,
Brian?
I mean, the thing that I just loved about it was how Murrell's promo was, it's fated to be a trilogy. And literally, like, it felt like the end of just this epic, like, you had your first one, you had your second one, and here's your big finale. Like, I will not be surprised if they go into another match against each other at some point. And I mean, who knows? It could be sooner than we think. But yeah, this one was just, I think, was it Brian that said it felt like a live event, even though it was, we were watching it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because that is so true. Like, that was an incredible match to watch from beginning to end. And it was just the shock of, oh my God, it really was. It was just like the shock. It had everything. The shock of him missing his first question. And you're like, oh my God, he missed his first question. But if anyone's not going to get rattled, it's going to be Dan Murrell. So at the same time, we're going, oh my God, he missed his first question. He must be off his game. And then he just starts firing him off right back at him. So it's like, clearly he was fine. And then you have Ethan just coming out with haymakers from the get-go. It literally just was anything you could want in a championship match. Like it's literally probably the most even you're going to see of two competitors. Like anyone could have won that. It literally just came down to one simple thing. And the question rounders even threw in a couple tricks in there to try to throw them off. Some worked, some didn't. It's depended on who was listening to it or maybe knew it a little bit better. But man, was that just anything else? I just can't think of anything else that you would want from a match like that.
It really goes to show how hard the 5-pointers are, because it was like they were tied in round 2 and then tied going into, or tied
Round
after
5.
Yeah. And then they both missed their 5-pointers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we went into overtime. So man, those 5-pointers.
And that's the same thing that happened with Irwin and Rocco, obviously, with Irwin taking the victory in that one. So 2 major singles matches we've seen back to back as far as pay-per-view goes, not the tournaments, but just pay-per-views. We've seen that happen. And so it's definitely a testament to the question writing and the unique different movies or questions that come up. But yeah, this match was incredible. And you can go through the statistics and just like look at what happened and how back and forth it was. Like, Irwin was up by 1 going into round 2, and then they were tied. Then Merle goes up, and then they're tied after round 4, and they're tied after round 5. And then the fated question for Merle that ended up giving him the belt back. It was really just a picture perfect ending. It worked so perfectly. It was such a great match. Also, no internet issues, which was fantastic. I just had to throw that one there. But I did want to talk about the speed round, because the speed round went really, really well this time around. Like maybe the best it's ever gone as far as the new format.
Oh man, Irwin crushed it.
10 for 10, just blew through the question. I think one of them he had to go back on once. And Dan ended up going 9 for 9 and not actually answering the final one, skipping it so he didn't get that missed question, which was very smart on his part. But really just a great wealth of knowledge from both of them, and some questions that really had to make you think. Like you really had to think on some of those questions, and in the speed round, that's tough. But both of them finished with like time to spare. And so if you ever need an example of why the speed round works, this is like the perfect match to do so.
Yeah.
There's always a question where you have to count.
It was the Rambo or the
how many
times the Rambo?
How many times has Stallone played Rambo in a feature?
Yes.
Ethan didn't even take a second
to
count it. Like I was like, wait, that was the counting question. There's always a counting question. He literally just answered it without thinking. So it goes to show you how well these people know their stuff.
I think Ethan. He passed on 1, maybe 2, but he had time to spare in the end.
Yeah,
exactly. And like Mark Ellis was like, "You're done, I guess."
Yeah.
Dan played the speedrun really smart, where if he didn't know the answer immediately off the top of his head, he passed quickly. You didn't sit there and think about it. That's the way you have to play the speedrun. Is if you know it immediately, you say it. If you don't, you pass, and you get another one that you can hear quickly. And then go back with your extra time. And he did, miss the one question. It didn't miss it, but he wasn't positive of it. I did see, he said that was his inkling, as he thought it was 1988. But if you're not 100% sure, you don't want to lose that point. And
100%.
if he was wrong and he said the wrong date, that's the match. That 1 point would have decided the match.
That would have been the match. You're right. Yeah.
Now, had he said 88 and gotten it, then he wouldn't have gotten to the sudden death, and he would have won by the point. But that's the risk you have to take. You're better off, leaving a point on the board than losing a point.
Not to mention the betting round too. That one, holding your breath, trying to figure out who's betting what more, and then it's just like,
I love all the codes that people are coming up with now because it's virtual. Like the months and stuff like that. It's such a cool aspect of the game. Because usually they don't see that stuff, obviously. So it's a cool little addition over the virtual setting.
Yeah. I really like the speedrun format in these digital matches. It does make it slightly less, not necessarily strategic, but the way things can go, if when you're going into the speed round, you might not get that advantage that you would in a real speed round because you're getting 5 questions and only one person is going to get that question right or wrong. So, I mean, you can go to a speed round in this, everybody gets the same amount of questions. You get the same exact questions. So you might both go 10 for 10 and then it was just a wash on the point. Whereas in the studio, you get 5 questions and one person is going to get 2, one person is going to get 3. So you get that change, but it's fun seeing them go back and forth. It's almost like game show style. All right, somebody goes into the isolation booth. This is your 60-second clock. See how many you can get.
Tachyon has a question for us here, and this is more so for Molly and James. Thoughts on Ethan not taking the risk on the extra point in the betting round? He only bet 1. He didn't bet the 2. Dan bet the 2, which made him. They got the tie afterwards. Or excuse me, he went up by 1 that round. So as a player, did he make the smart move? Would you have done something differently? What are your Molly? You can start us off on this one.
So the category was movie release dates.
Movie release dates, yeah.
I don't know what I would have done in that situation. I was assuming they would
category.
Yeah, exactly. I was assuming they were gonna both bet 2. So I was a little surprised that Erwin only bet 1, but maybe he just isn't super confident in movie release dates. But yeah, I was just assuming they would both bet 2. And like the Smets match, he was down by so many points that I was like, okay, I know he's gonna bet 3 because he needs the points.
Yeah.
But this is just a whole other ball game.
James?
At that point, going into the betting round, Ethan was up by 1 point, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
No, excuse me. They were tied going into that round. They were tied
going into the betting round. Okay,
I
couldn't remember. So yeah, I'll trust you on that. It's one of those categories that even if you feel confident, there's thousands and thousands of movies that can get asked that you just don't know. So I don't fault him for going 1 point and just, all right, if I get it, I get a point. But you don't want to risk too much there. So I don't know what his thought process was. I don't know how confident he feels in release dates. Top Gun was not a layup, but I mean, that's a pretty fairly recognizable release date. So in hindsight, being 2020, I'm sure that he wishes he would have bet 2 or 3 points as soon as Top Gun popped up. But I mean, how many movies could we name from 86 that he just wouldn't know came up in 86?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's one of those categories that's really, really tough. So you minimize your risk, and hopefully Dan only bets 2 and doesn't bet that 3. It's a 1 point difference. It's not insurmountable only having 1 point difference going into a speed round,
Mm-hmm.
because you never know. And look, he made that point right back up. But if he would have gotten a movie that he didn't know betting 2 or 3 points, then he wouldn't have gotten the sudden death either.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so
risk reward,
Yeah. And a lot of it has to come with luck as well, a little bit there and there. So, all right. So ultimately, Merle ends up beating Erwin 32-31. I did a typo in the little doc there. 1 point victory for Merle and OT. 5 questions in OT gets that 10 things I hate about you question that just puts him over, and you could see the relief on his face when it happens because, and we had mentioned it was very personal to him. Obviously, Mara ran in afterwards, said, "That's our song. That's our song." And so it was just really a picture perfect ending for him. And, he retains the belt. The Finstock Exchange retains the singles belt. They get the 3 points and they're officially tied with Corruption in first place. So they are back in that 1 spot. It's big because not only is Dan now just waiting to see who he plays in December, but it also officially finalizes what we're going to see in this tournament. And so what is happening is that Sabrina Ramirez is officially in. And she is playing Vinny Mancuso in the play-in match, which will happen this week. And John Roca is officially playing Adam Collins, which, Adam Collins won the play-in match to play John Roca, and that was being decided on who won this and this. And so that is the official match there. Just quickly, because those are the 2 matches that kind of, were weighted on by this. Who do we have in the Adam Collins versus John Roca, and who do we have in a Vinny Mancuso versus Sabrina Ramirez? And Brian, I'll start with you on this one.
I want to pick Adam, but I still don't know enough about him. I just he seemed very confident when he was playing, but I just have a hard time picking him because if you're going to go against Roca, I mean, you got to bring pretty much your A game. So, I mean, I don't have enough to distinguish or what his A game is, Collins' A game from his B game to his C game is. Can he upset Roca? Absolutely. But I think I'm probably going to stick with Roca on this one. And then I think Sabrina is probably going to beat Vinny. She scares me. I think she knows. I think she knows way more than people think. And I mean, she was the hot commodity free agent that everyone wanted to reach out and have on their team. So, I mean, I don't know. I really don't. These are two very coin tossy matches, but I think I'm going to go with Sabrina on this one.
And real quick, Tim Sim here. Yes, you are correct. Shout out to Jen Camp. Unfortunately, it's a shame we won't see her anymore. Very true. I was looking forward to seeing her in singles, especially after her IG debut. It would have been fun to see her in singles. Molly, who are you picking?
Same. I got Roca and Sabrina for sure on these matches. Roca's just playing really well. I think he's gonna do really well in this tournament, and I hope Sabrina does well too. Like, I'm really excited to see her play. And I agree with you, Brian. I think she knows a lot more than she leads on. I don't know if something about her demeanor is like, yeah, she's got it in there.
She reminds me of like that femme fatale. Like, she will strike and you won't see it coming. And she's a scary person to play against, I feel like.
Yeah.
James, if you want to say who you the likely scenario here as far as winners.
Well, I don't know enough about Sabrina or Vinny to really pick very well in that match, so I just flipped a coin and it landed on Vinny. So Vinny's going to win that match. And then for Collins versus Roca, I think Adam Collins showed that he is a very formidable opponent in his first match. But I'm going to go with the same thing that I said about Paulo Yama. You do not want a scared dog in a fight. You don't want somebody that just came off a really debilitating loss, because they're going to be so much more hungry. And we've seen what happens when you light a fire under John Roca. So he has something to prove to the fans and to himself. And I think he's going to go into this tournament really, really strong. And I think Adam just might be in his way in the first round. It wouldn't shock me if Adam beats him, because we've seen that he is a strong competitor, and I think he's up to the fight. But I think Roca is just going to go in with something to prove.
Did anybody see the tweet that Roca put out with the video, the Dark Knight Rises video?
No.
Oh yeah.
So some fan edited a video for John Roca they put faces over the scene from the Dark Knight, a bunch of scenes from the Dark Knight Rises where he's rising and he's climbing the wall and then he comes back to Gotham.
From what's it called? Inner Geekdom question. There you go, Molly.
Oh, okay. And he tagged.
The pit?
Yeah, the pit. That's
the pit.
it.
There you go. There. He tagged not just like all of the after shows, but a bunch of competitors as well. And it's like, I'm coming for it all. And so it feels like, look, as much as we love to talk about John Roca here, I will say that when it comes to a competitive fire and one who puts his all in everything, it's very hard to not mention John Roca. It is very, very hard to not mention that. I feel like, unfortunately for Adam Collins, he is just running straight into a freight train. And, I think that just like we were talking about with Paulo Yama, the loss is going to fire him. I think the loss to Irwin has really switched gears for Roca. Like, it flipped him a little bit, right? He didn't really know how he was feeling about everything going into the match. He was expecting to win, then he lost. There was that talk about retiring and stuff. And then he's like, no, like, this has just made me want to play more. And that's scary to go up against. And so I do think that he'll probably take that win. And then I agree with what Brian and Molly were saying about Sabrina. It's unfortunate because she has such hype around her. I feel like the expectations are super high for her, and I don't want that to like just kind of, come crashing down on her, because we've seen that happen before. But I do think that she will take the victory, because I also don't know a lot about Vinny either. So like James, it's very hard to choose because I just don't know a lot about them both. I've seen Vinny once, and it was in teams format, so I don't know what he's going to look like in a singles match. But either way, they're both going to be very fun, and they're both going to be very, very fun. So I am definitely looking for Sabrina. Okay. Yeah, Sabrina,
I definitely know the feeling of having a bunch of hype behind you and going into things being like, I don't know as much as Alex knows at the time of my
right, you know more.
at the time that I played at Celebration. I had a lot of hype behind me, but I was like not feeling super confident because I didn't, we were there to work and I didn't have a ton of time to study. But yeah, I know that feeling. But I think she's gonna crush it.
Well, fair enough. Well, with all of that said, I think that's going to wrap up a certain POV for this week, everyone. This isn't the only time that you're going to be seeing us, though, obviously. We counted the matches that are happening this week before the show started, and there are, including the pay-per-view event, there are 7 matches happening this week. So you're going to see... You're going to see a lot of us, and 5 of those being actual reactions that we're able to do. And so just make sure you're paying attention to our social media page on Twitter, at SchmodownPOV. We do live reactions to those matches the day that they drop. And so you'll see one from us tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. More than likely, depending on what day one of those matches drops, you'll see a double header reaction. And so look out for those. And then before we get out of here, I will go around the table and let everyone know where we can find them online. James, I'll start with you. First of all, where can everyone check you out on social media, man?
Yeah, you can find me mostly on Twitter and on Letterboxd at G4TOR24, Gator24. I'm also on Instagram, although I do not post there very often, so don't go looking for a bunch of pictures. You'll see me making food occasionally and posting pictures about them, but that's about it. But yeah, I'm on Twitter and Letterboxd all the time. So yeah, you can check me out there, and you can check me out in the first round. I got a match coming up against William the Beast Bibiani. I'm super excited to get into, and I'll tell you right now, if you watched my first match and you thought that's my game, it's not my game. I'm going to be bringing my A game against William the Beast Bibiani because that's what I have to do. If I don't come in there with my A game, I'm getting walked out the door. So I'm coming in there with something to prove, and I plan on doing it.
I love it.
Awesome.
I can't wait. I know on this end, we're super excited. Obviously, we have a little bit of a favoritism a little bit because Jill with the den and everything. So we're loving it. We look forward to it. So yeah, we're excited to see that one. Hopefully, I know it's still like a month away, which just seems like so far, but hopefully it goes fast so we can see that next match. Brian, where can everyone find you on social media, man?
At Biavalcino on Twitter and Instagram.
Molly?
At Molly Damon on Twitter, at Molly Mander on Instagram. Me and Alex are on YouTube at Star Wars Explained. We also just started a Twitch channel. Well, Alex did.
It's great. It's great.
If you want to see,
if you want to see Alex on a different side, whew.
Yeah, if you want to see Alex get mad and swear like you've never seen him act before, go check out him on Twitch. I think he's still streaming. It's Alex Damon Live on Twitch, and I'll be on there too. And you'll see our dog Hilo interrupting him constantly.
You can find me at Qui-Gon Jake with 2 N's on every social media platform. I'm everywhere. Us again, Schmodown POV on Twitter. As also, if you guys have any questions for us, anything that you want to ask us or dive into, we also have a Streamlabs. It's in the description below. I also post it in the comments throughout the show. You can check that out. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we have all kinds of reactions coming out this week. So make sure you're paying attention to not just our YouTube, but our Twitter page. And so, yeah. So, again, thank you, James, so much for joining us this week, man.
Thank you for having me, guys. Yeah, I love talking with you all the time. So, yeah, thanks a lot for having me on.
We look forward to having you back in the future. And, again, good luck to your match with William Bibiani here in the first round of the singles tournament. So,
I appreciate it.
For myself, for Brian, for Molly, for James, and for Jill, who quickly stopped by earlier on in the match, or in the show, we are a certain point of view, and we will see you the rest of the week.